Let's talk about function calling. Basically, we can simply see the LLM as a so-called operating system. And this operating system, you already know it, this is really good with text. It can make text bigger or make text smaller. And we do a little bit of prompt engineering so that it's a little bit better. But these LLMs, they are not good at specific tasks. These LLMs are not good in math. And we can simply include another program in order to do math with an LLM. We can simply do the so-called function calling to a calculator and include the calculator in our LLM. These LLMs, they cannot make pictures, but we can do function calling to a program that can make pictures. Generally speaking, diffusion models make pictures. So we can make an API request out to a diffusion model and get the answer in our LLM from the diffusion model. An API request simply means that we send something out to another program and we get it back. This is the simple explanation. We do not need to know more, at least not right now. Basically, we have something here from Andrew Karpathy, and he describes the function calling, or basically the LLM as operating system, with this picture. And I think this picture is really awesome. So you can see the LLM with the context window just like the RAM on your PC. And then we can do this function calling, so we can talk, for example, to other LLMs, and they can communicate back with our LLM. But we can also include function calling to the browser. You can think about the Ethernet. So we can use an LLM, we can ask something that is, for example, recent, and the LLM will simply go and use a browser in order to get the information. We can also do function calling at, for example, diffusion models. And diffusion models can generate, for example, videos, audios, pictures, and much more. And he calls it peripheral devices. So we can simply include different things in our LLM. We can also use stuff like a calculator, the Python interpreter, terminal, and much more. So we can, for example, use Python, the Python libraries, in order to make graphs and much more. And Karpathy makes here the example like software 1.0 tools, like the classic computer. So here on my computer, I can use, of course, this calculator, and all of it is working. And then we have also the so-called disk. This simply means that we have file systems and embeddings. You can also call this, for example, the RAG technology and vector data stores. We will talk about them in more detail in the next video. So we can, of course, also save stuff up in the so-called long-term memory of the LLM if we include a vector database and do some embeddings in these. This is called the RAG technology, but like I said, more on that later. It's basically just important that our LLM is basically the operating system, and we can include different programs. If we go here on Hugging Face, for example, with this Command R+ model, we already have function calling included. You see right here these tools, so we can make images with this LLM. We can use a calculator and much more. If I ask, for example, what is 88 times 88 divided by 2, and if I send this out, most likely the calculator will do this work. So you see, called tool calculator, we simply include different programs. And in our AI agents, we can also do function calling, just like you see in this agent. This agent can also do function calling to Gmail. It can do function calling to the calendar. And if you want to integrate, for example, a calculator, you can simply press plus and then include the calculator, you press on it, and then this AI agent will simply use this calculator as soon as this is needed. In order that this works a little bit better, we should also come to a system prompt and include here some things, but more on system prompts, of course, later, because first we need to talk about the RAG technology. But you should simply understand that we can call a lot of different tools, and this is called function calling. If the LLM on itself is not smart enough, we can include all these different tools, and this thing is working. working. In order that this thing is working, we need to use a LLM that has function calling included. For example, the GPT-4o models, also the O3 models. Llama 3 has this included. Basically, a lot of LLMs have function calling included, but not every single LLM. Of course, you will learn in more detail what LLMs have function calling included, but you also find it always in the documentation. Excuse me that we do a little bit of theory in this section, but I think you need to understand this in order to grasp these AI agents a little bit better before you build them. You already know it. All of these LLMs, they have a context window, so they simply don't know for a really long time what you are talking about. But of course we can include different files, and the basic concept is that if the LLM does not know something, for example about our business, we can upload PDFs and then the LLM can browse these PDFs and knows our knowledge. This is direct technology, and as you already know, we can not only use one single LLM that can do function calling that has direct technology, but we can use a lot of different LLMs, just like you see right here. We have, for example, a CEO, and the CEO can call the CFO, the CTO, the COO, and the general counsel. And these LLMs, they can also talk to other LLMs. They can talk, for example, to the security guy, to the VP engineer, to the chief scientist, and also this LLM can go one step further and talk to other LLMs. So basically, these LLMs, they can all talk to each other, and every single LLM can do function calling, can have direct technology. It all depends on the stuff that we want to include. We always have the standard LLM. This could be, for example, a Llama model that we run locally with Ollama, but this could also be ChatGPT that we use over the API from OpenAI. This could be any LLM that is able to do function calling, and we can include a lot of different things. We can include vector databases, we can include embedding models, we can include direct technology, and we will do this in all of these AI agent frameworks. And that's why you need to also understand direct technology, vector databases, and embeddings models. And because of that, I want to tell you in the next video exactly how direct technology is working. We need to understand what are embedding models, what are vector databases, and how direct technology works. So in that manner, see you in the next video, because in this video you have learned that the LLM is like an operating system. The LLM itself is not that smart, but if the LLM is not smart enough to do something, it can simply make a call to another tool that is smart enough. For example, a tool that can generate pictures, a tool like a calculator or Python libraries. And that's the magic. Function calling is one of the coolest things that an LLM can do. See you in the next one.